the invasion breaks out, you'll meet Mags Carter, a former Gear now sweating it out at Kelowna's emulsion refinery.
Now, why don't you come talk shit when your balls drop? And quit going through my stuff.
Taking your own path.
Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy Skull and Bones 2 and 2 here, and in today's Gears of War E-Day video, we're going to be talking about the lore of Mags Carter. So, over the past couple days, Gears of War has actually given us tidbits of characters and the lore to characters via the Gears of War E-Day beta. And specifically, we got a lot of lore on Mags Carter. She was actually given a pretty cool beta reward skin, which kind of explains her past before she joins Marcus and Dom. The way that this works is basically they detail how she got her armor destroyed and how she got, severely damaged and was dishonorably discharged from the COG. And they go in detail about that. So without further ado, we can actually dive into it via the snippets of what we've seen through the beta and then, context clues that have been dropped, and they kind of answer a lot of questions that were kind of left ambiguous or blank for us to fill in. So let's dive into that. We know that for promotional art for this character, we initially saw her face, and the first thing that caught my eye was she was very battle damaged in her, I think it's left eye. And we did see or hear from the campaign direct basically that she was working at an emulsion factory. So the first thing that I thought was oh, maybe she has very early onset rust lung, but it turns out actually that her eye damage is from a residual blast from a bomb she failed to defuse correctly, which costed her the lives of her team and basically put her out of commission for a little bit before she was put on trial by the COG. We can see specifically that her right eye is fine, but then the left eye has some severe tissue damage. So it's very interesting to see really quickly those comparisons and be oh, so yeah, this was actually pretty bad. I don't know if it makes it so that Mags Carter is blind in one eye, but we won't really know until the game comes out. So it's very interesting. We have some explanation as to why she has such a severe wound. Some other promotional art for the Art of E-Day, they actually show Mags Carter looking at the funeral that Marcus and Dom attend, looking at it from a distance, and I always wondered, before they had basically said that she was retired, they didn't really explain why, so I was it's kind of odd she's out of uniform looking from a distance. Maybe it's the fact that she feels guilty that she killed her squad mates and she wasn't able to attend the funeral, knowing that what she did wasn't on purpose, and that she did fight a good fight with everybody else, but she couldn't be present but also face the guilt of also being there, knowing that she was the cause of death for those other gears. Again, we know that it was unintentional, but let's look at the actual lore itself and what it says. So for Mags Carter, it says that a gear is only as good as their equipment. One crossed wire or a faulty starter is all it takes for a standard demolition operation to go horribly wrong. When an explosives malfunction during a routine mission killed her squad, Mags Carter was left brutally injured, court-martialed for negligence of duty by the COG, and dishonorably discharged from service. Now, for some reason, Mags goes through I think 2 different armor sets of the E-Day campaign. We can see in some snippets before she gets fully armored up, she's not wearing the bandolier armor. I'm assuming in the beginning of Emergence Day, she's wearing this picked up COG armor that she just found off a dead body and just equipped it and put it on. And then when she heads to her apartment with Lucas Reyes, she puts on her bandolier demolition armor, which is her armor from when she was serving as a demolitions expert from before and during the Pendulum Wars. So I find it very interesting that she goes through the most armor changes. She's wearing this light blue standard infantry COG armor, and then later on when she's in her apartment with Lucas Reyes, like I said, she actually changes that armor, and we see her later on walking through the emulsion factory with her standard armor set on. So this is pretty interesting, getting some lore on Mags Carter. There are some other characters that I can basically cover and talk about with the little snippets that we got from the E-Day beta. It doesn't really paint a full picture of what's truly going on with every character, as by the time the game comes out, there'll probably be more fleshed out lore for everybody. But I do like that we're getting some, interesting story for these characters freshly coming out of the Pendulum Wars, and giving them some character. I do know that Gears 4 and 5 really suffered from a lack of character depth and just kind of giving us new characters and expecting us to love them really when they didn't really do anything or have an important role in the story. So it's cool to see that the Coalition is actually taking some, very good lore snippets from Karen Travis, blending it into these new characters, and then, just kind of expanding on that. And I love that very much about, what they're doing with E-Day. Because of the revelation of this lore, I do believe that later on in the campaign, Mags Carter does sacrifice herself in some way or dies. I don't really see the 2 new members making it, because we know if they're following the Gears lore, then these characters will not stay on Delta Squad. Obviously Marcus and Dom will have to move on, and they'll get different people to replace the two until they really like meet Baird and Dom in Gears 1. So I don't really know if these two make it by the end of this game. Maybe Lucas makes it and Mags doesn't, just because she feels so guilty of what happened in her past, and the way she can ensure her team lives is by drastically sacrificing herself at some point towards the end of the campaign. Again, we'll have to wait and see until the game comes out to really make that definitive decision and agree with it, for whatever the case may be. But another bit of lore that I want to add on to regarding Mags is she was a specialist and also a squad leader and survived 15 years of the Pendulum War's most dangerous demolition missions. She was squad leader of the 8th Kelowna Siege Grenadiers. Like in the other lore, they detail the explosive malfunction that dishonorably discharged her and ended up sending her to work in the emulsion factories. More importantly, the Tim Gad Prime emulsion factory. Now, another person that I want to talk about regarding Bravo Squad and new members would be Lucas Reyes. He actually has some lore designated towards him, so without further ado, let's dive into what it says for him. Cadet First Class Lucas Reyes grew up admiring the heroic radio stories of Gears defending the COG against the UIR threat. He enlisted with his best friends as soon as they were eligible, hoping to become the next generation of heroes. However, due to his high aptitude scores, Lucas was plucked out of the General Infantry and sent to the Academy for communications officer training, while his friends went to the front lines without him. So all of that just about wraps up all the lore we have regarding Bravo Squad and its new members. If you guys did enjoy today's video, don't forget to give a like, comment, subscribe, spread the video to your friends. This is your boy Skull and Bones 212, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.